Hello there, Aquarius. Thank you so much for joining me for your in-depth monthly tarot forecast. My apologies that this forecast is coming out so late. I literally decided June 30th that I wanted to switch to monthlies, and I wanted them to be a whole lot meatier than the weeklies that I used to do. So they're taking a lot more time to put together than I had really factored in. But I knew that I did not want to wait until August to start these. So, like I said, my apologies that these are so late coming out. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be totally on schedule by the time August rolls around, although I'm hoping to be, or at least be close to that. And then by the time September rolls around, I should have everything out before the 1st. And then hopefully the schedule will keep rolling in a good way from that point. But for right now, we're going to start with July, and for your forecast, we're going to start with July 12th, and this section is going to be for July 12th through the 18th, and then we'll do a couple other sections that'll put us through the rest of the month too. But I want to give us a lot of good information to go on so that you can feel like you're informed as to what is potentially coming down the pike. Now, the other thing about getting a reading like this ahead of time and looking at it is that it gives you a little bit of a heads up. So if you see something that you don't like, you can make some different decisions to sort of swing the energy in a different direction so that maybe things can have a different outcome that you might be happier with. Also, what you need to know before I actually jump in is that this is a general reading, so it's going to be something that applies to quite a few of the Aquariuses that view here. But not every single detail is going to fit every single one of you, and the best way to find a reading where every single little detail fits you is to get a private reading, and I do offer those. You can find out about those on my website below, but just know this is a general reading, so let's not have private reading expectations from a general. Okay, generals have their place, but their place is not the same as a private. So, Aquarius, the first thing that we're going to look at for you is going to be your environment. Now, I imagine that in 99.999% of cases here, we're looking at home. But I will tell you that sometimes environment can be work and it can be school. So you do want to have a little bit of an open mind about where this might be, especially if you are somebody who is back to work or who was one of those workers that never got to take time off. You want to be open that this may not be home we're talking about, but it's someplace where you have energy or effort invested. And so let's look at what are we seeing about your environment. Okay, well, for July 12th through the 18th, I don't see a whole lot of work actually getting done on your environment. Some of you may actually be attending a wedding, and so you may not even be in your normal local area. But there's definitely something going on in your environment that is very traditional, something that has a lot of pomp and ceremony around it. And there's something that is very happiness making. So could be, Aquarius, that maybe you're getting married and taking some time off. Could be that you're going to a wedding, somebody else is getting married and you're taking some time off. But it doesn't have to be a wedding. I don't feel like you're getting a lot of work done during the time from the 12th to the 18th for sure. There's definitely something going on in your environment that is traditional. Something that has been around for years and maybe decades and maybe even centuries. And I feel like you're very happy in your environment. Yeah, some of you, your environment may be a hotel room or a family's place as they're going to a wedding. Or just generally on vacation even. La da 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 da. Maybe you have a family tradition of where you go on vacation. Maybe that's the traditional part of that. Anyway, let's look next at your subconscious leanings, Aquarius. What we have coming up here. What do we have here, my dear? Oh, you're feeling really ungrounded and insecure in a situation where you're feeling like you're sort of left out in the cold. For some of you Aquarians, this is actually going to be about finances. You may be in a situation where finances are getting really tight And your subconscious is going, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make this better. I don't know how I'm going to pay this next bill. And for others of you, this is going to be about, just relationships and people, just feeling like you're not around people enough, feeling like you need to be around people more. And for some of you, we've got both of this going on. A lot of you, this is going to be one or the other, but for some of you, we have both of this going on. The need to be around more people, feeling really restricted about that situation. And for other people, this is the need to make more money and trying to figure out how to do that, but not seeing. I think your subconscious is really kind of struggling here because I don't think it's coming up with a solution right now, at least not during this time frame. That's something that may come up in a month. We may see some solutions taking place. We'll have to see what happens with that. The next thing that I want to look at for you for the week of the 12th through the 18th is going to be that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. And when I say right now, I do mean from the 12th through the 18th. Yeah. As I'm going through readings, time gets a little lost. Wherever I am kind of feels like whatever I'm looking at feels like the present, or I'll say, well, you've done such and such as if it's in the past. It's really not. It's just the way it feels to me. But you want to keep in mind the dates that I'm talking about, unless I actually say there's a delay here. This may not happen in this time frame. Other than that, we're talking about this particular chunk of time. So this right now, we're talking about July 12th through the 18th. Anyway, lesson or experience. All right, so what's going on with your lessons or experiences? Right now, there is something that you're wanting to do to add some sort of sense of security to your life. And security comes in a lot of different forms. For some people, it comes through relationships. For some people, it comes through money, through jobs, through assets, through resources. You're trying to do something to amp up your sense of security in this tangible world. And as you're working on that, you're facing the idea that, yes, there have been some disappointments, but you're not paying too much attention to the disappointments. You're looking beyond the disappointments to the opportunities that are here for you right now. That's what we see you doing. And sometimes those opportunities that are right here for you right now are to continue on with what has been going on. Even though it may not necessarily bring an improvement, it's something that you can do while you're looking for that next opportunity or that next improvement. Okay, so that's where you're being grown or expanded right now, is in this whole idea of adding security and figuring out and going about the whole process of adding more security to your life. All right, next thing that I want to look at for you Aquarians between the 12th and the 18th has to do with two things: learning style and also communication style. There is a lot of self-reflection going on during this time frame. And I think that you are really noticing some things about yourselves that maybe were not as clear to you before. Some things that you recognize that you would like to improve about yourself. But you're also noticing some things about yourself that you're pretty happy with. So when I'm looking at learning style for this particular time frame, it looks like your learning really is centering around self, around reflecting on who you are and what it is you like about you, what it is you don't. Okay, and then when we look at communication style, well, there's obviously multiple people that you're communicating with here, and I've got basically at least two different styles, if not three, but at least two. And there is one set of people or one person that you're communicating with that everything just flows out really easily, really smoothly. There's lots of communication. You don't have to worry that you've forgotten to tell this person about something or they've forgotten to tell you about something. And then you've got another set of people that I think you kind of try to hold back on what you want to say to them. For some of them, I think you're trying to hold back because you feel like if you say what you're really thinking, it's going to be ugly. It's just the way it is. It's just going to be ugly. And And then we've got this other set of people, or this other person that you're communicating with during this time frame, and it looks to me like there's something on your mind as you're interacting with this person. And I don't know that you've necessarily consciously processed it, but something comes up, something triggers whatever this is in a conversation, and all of a sudden here's something that comes up that you didn't even know that was there, some type of feeling or some type of reaction that surprises you just as much as it surprises the people around you. In fact, maybe it surprises you more than it surprises the people around you, some type of reaction that you're having to something that just really, honestly, it comes up from the subconscious mind. I don't think you've consciously recognized it until it came out of your mouth in that particular interaction, or until it will on the 12th through the 18th, somewhere in there. All right, so that's learning style and communication style. Next, I want to look at work. Now, for those of you who haven't had a private reading with me, or you haven't watched any of these other videos, what you don't know about me is I am weird about work. Well, obviously, look at my profession. No, I'm just joking. I am weird about work, though, because I see work as that way that you make a living, or what you do to feel like you're offering some kind of service or goodness to the community if you don't actually make a moolah type of living. And then the other way that I see work is, what are we doing to improve our own personal selves to make us more happy with who we are? So that I call inner work. And then the money type or the community type of work I call outer work. So we're going to look at outer work first. Outer work, outer work, outer work. There's definitely some transition going on at work for you, and I don't think you're exactly expecting it. Okay, so what's interesting is it looks like one door closes and another door opens. It looks like some of you may be being released from some of the responsibilities that you carry at work, and you may be being asked to do something that is different. You may be being asked actually to go back to something that you used to do there before instead of what you have been doing. So some of you, this may feel like you're sort of stepping backwards, or it could feel for some of you like you're just stepping into old familiar territory. But definitely some changes going on at work, some transitions happening at work, and I think that I don't think that you're really prepared for them. I think it takes you by surprise. It sort of is a blindside type situation. Other than it being a surprise, I don't necessarily see it as bad. I just don't, because like I said, I think that where one door is closing, another door is opening. You could be released from particular responsibilities where you're working and you're asked to do something else, or you could be actually released from where you have been working, but when you do, then the opportunity comes up for you to go back to something that you were doing before. And I think that, yeah, and I think that you do that. So either way, definitely your role is changing. Things are changing at work. Ba-da-da-da. Oh, I didn't look at inner work. Can't skip it. Can't skip it. Let's look at inner work. Okay, so inner work has to do with something that you used to enjoy, you used to participate in, you used to love, and somehow life just put it on the back burner for you. I don't think you really chose to put it on the back burner. I just think you got busy with other things, and gradually it just got on the back burner more and more and more and more, till maybe it fell off the back of the stove and it's between the stove and the wall now. It's been that long. Okay? But what's going on now is that with your inner work, you have done something that has released you from a brule. Okay? For those of you who don't know what a brule is, I would highly recommend reading this book by Vishaan Lakhani. It's called something about the genius mind or something like that. I'm looking at the book, but I've got hair ties over it. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. And he talks about brules in there. It's a fantastic book. It's a really self-empowering book. But brules are basically bullshit rules. They're rules that are made up by people from who knows how long ago that really applied, and they were made for a reason at some point, but they don't so much apply to us anymore. Well, your self-work really shows, or your inner work really shows, that you're finding a rule and that you're just completely taking it apart, not paying attention to it anymore. And I think that when you find it, I think it just suddenly it just hits you. Oh my gosh. Why am I doing this? There's no benefit to this. Why am I doing this? And you release yourself from that rule, or that bullshit rule. Excuse my language. So you release yourself from that rule, and this allows you the opportunity to go back to that thing that has just been on the back burner so long it fell off the back of the stove. Now you can go back and find that and pick that up and rejuvenate it, regenerate it, spend some more time with it again. Kind of cool, actually, I think. You guys hear that sound? That's the air conditioner preparing to lift off. I'm telling you, I think there's a rocket motor inside there. Okay, Aquarians, next thing that we're looking at, talk to me about those things that you stand for. Okay, so here's what we've got going on, Aquarius. I'm not sure if this applies in your personal life, if this applies in your business life, if this applies in your home decorating life. I'm not sure exactly where this applies. So you'll have to tell me where it fits. But you do have a situation in your life where you were looking at something and considering it and wanting to move forward with it. Relationship, home decorating idea, project at work, whatever, hobby, recreation, whatever. And you were all gung-ho about it. And then you changed direction. You changed your mind. Okay, that's what you're defending. That's what you're defending. And when somebody says, hey, I thought you were doing this thing, how come we're going a completely different direction now? You're saying, well, you know, I just wasn't really feeling it anymore. I really liked that idea at first, but now I like this other idea better. And that's just all there is to it. Everybody gets to change their mind, right? Now, how this other person is seeing you, whatever this was, wherever you were headed before, I don't think they expected it to last. I think they expected that thing to kind of implode anyway. Because what they're seeing is that you're basically in recovery mode. By changing direction, you have recovered from something. They don't see it as over. They don't see this as wrapped up, this change of direction. They don't see the old thing as over, as wrapped up. They think that's going to come back up again. And they feel like you've got just too much on your plate, really. Like things are going to start falling through the cracks at any moment. But, you know, that's their opinion. What do they know? I might take that out of the spread. Do we really care what other people think about us? Do we really need to hear that? I might put something else in there. You guys give me some feedback. Do you want to know what other people think about you? Does it matter? Or should we put something else in that space for that spread? I think maybe we should look at something else. Okay, so next thing that we're going to look at talks to me about like the turning point, or where things start to go in a different direction for this particular time frame. Still on the 12th to the 18th, by the way. Well, this could be confusing. It looks like there's something new that you're finding an interest in. There's something that's catching your interest that's new. This could be a person. This could be a recreation activity, a project. This could be a new friendship. This new thing is actually showing up while you're still missing something else. You're still feeling like you don't have enough contact or communication with someone else, or you're not, yeah, I think you're missing somebody. And when this comes in, when this new fascination or this new love or this new appreciation of something comes in, I think it actually makes you think about and remember this thing from the past that you're missing. Okay? So even though there's something new here that's happiness making, this happiness making thing is triggering memories from the past about something that you're missing right now. So it's almost like this bittersweet thing that we have that's sort of turning the direction of this time frame. Okay, what else is happening as this is going on? Wow. So even though you're having memories of something from the past, you're also realizing that that something from the past is not as ideal as you used to think it was. You're starting to see where it's not. And you're starting to actually feel empowered and free because now you're realizing, man, I thought that was perfect. And I thought that I missed out on perfect. And I didn't. Now there were some imperfections there. And so that's okay. It's a little easier to miss out on something that has imperfections. What else is going on here? This is so freaking confusing, guys. What are y'all doing? I mean, if I had a little clay doll in front of me, I would be spinning it this way and that way. Like, this is what you guys are doing right now. Ba-bum-bum-bum. You guys are tormented here. You guys are tormented here because I think this thing from the past, there's a broken commitment there. You guys, you know, you're looking back at it and you're realizing it really wasn't ideal. It really wasn't what I want. And that makes me feel free and that makes me feel empowered. At the same time, looking at this situation where this contract or agreement was broken out of or broken up, and you're coming back to it. You're going back and you're going back and you're making an offer. You want to get this old thing going again. So you've got this new thing that has you thinking about this old thing. The new thing is untried, untrue. You can see how the old thing didn't really work. And yet you're going back to see if you can rekindle the old thing after all. What are y'all doing? What do y'all think? What do y'all think it? You've got so many things going on all at the same time. You might want to slow down before you go back. You know, slow your roll. Think this thing through and make sure you really want to do this. Just saying, from the outside looking in, it looks a little bit cray-cray. And it looks like you're fixing to cause some cray-cray for yourself and for some other people. All right, what do we see happening towards the end of the week, Aquarius? Payday, for one thing, is showing up here. Spending some time with friends is showing up. And I think that you're focusing on somebody. I think you're focusing on that situation or that commitment from the past. I think you've decided to focus on that and eliminate any and all other competition. And spending time with friends and enjoying your payday. That's interesting. That definitely was a game changer, all right. Okay, so that is for the period from the 12th to the 18th. What I'm going to do next is take a little break, and then I'll come back, and we'll look at the next section of July for you. See you soon. Hello again, Aquarius. We are back. This time, the time frame that we're going to be checking out is the 19th through the 25th of July. We'll see what comes up for that for y'all. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate that. Those of you who are not into witnessing the shuffling and the putting down of the cards, feel free to go ahead and just, how do you do that? We use the mouse and you move it along. Zoom right forward, I guess. Seems like there's a word, but right now I just can't remember it. Oops. All right. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. You don't have to watch me shuffle and put down cards if you don't want to. I just do that because some people really do feel like it's better if they actually get to witness that. So I let that stay as a part of the video instead of editing it out. La, da, 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 da. La, da, da, da. Okay, Aquarians, let's start off your time frame, the 19th through the 25th with your environment, just like we did last time. It looks like you may be spending some money on your environment during this time frame. You may also be re-upping a contract that has to do with your environment or is somehow related to your environment as well. And at the same time, there is something going on with your environment that feels a little fishy. There's information that you know is there, but that you're not actually catching or you're not actually seeing. So, yeah, you're having a hard time putting your fingers on what it is, what information it is that you don't actually have. But you know that something's missing here because not all the puzzle pieces are fitting together just right. Okay, so that starts off with the environment. Let's look again at subconscious leanings. And just remind you guys, this is a general reading. If you want a reading where we look at your specific situation, then we would have to do a reading that would be just for you. And I do offer those. If you want them, you can find out about those at the website listed in the description box below. So next thing that I'm looking at does talk to me about your subconscious leanings, Aquarians. And you guys are very scientific, logical minded. You know, you guys look at the bottom line and what makes sense. That's the most important thing to you. But I think in your subconscious, something's going on that just doesn't make sense. And your emotions are kind of taking over where your mind is. I think this has to do with somebody who is the opposite gender to you. And so I think your emotions are taking over. And I think your subconscious is a little bit like, oh my gosh, what? How? What? I'm doing things that don't make sense now and I don't understand this. Subconscious is trying to work that out. And meanwhile, you're very independent. You're doing your own thing. You're on your own. You're not depending on anybody else to help you make decisions or depending on anybody else to help you financially. You know, you are doing your thing independently, but you've definitely got some emotions that are taking control of some of your decisions right now. And that's subconscious. Your subconscious is working on that situation. Now, I think we're going to look at communication, learning style, and communication next. Okay, so learning style for Aquarius between the 19th through the 25th. There is some information that you're trying to find out about, and you are finding some information. You're finding the basics of the information that you need, but some of the other information there is some confusion around, and so as you're getting into that a little bit more deeply, you're coming across this confusion that is just, it is what it is. I think that your source is confused, so it's pretty hard to get past into something that has some clarity when your source is confused, and that's kind of what I see here. And the other thing is that, so you've got like the basis of information, then you've got this confusion that is layered on top of it, and then you've also got certain things around this situation that you're trying to understand or learn about where it's just like you're hitting a black hole. There's no information to pull out of there. And so this can tie into where we saw in the environment where, you know, there's information missing. You just can't quite put your fingers on it yet in this particular time frame. So that could definitely be related to that pretty easily. Next, we're looking at communication, your communication style. I do think you are communicating quite well with other people. You don't have to worry about that anybody didn't hear anything that you should be passing along to them. And I think that your communication is very pointed, very much to the point, maybe even a little bit sharp in some cases. And there is a certain element of long distance in your communication. So there may be a lot of emails, text messages, this could be camera, video calls, stuff like that, but distances apart. I see that there is at least a certain portion of your communication during this time frame which is handled over a distance and not in person. Okay, and I feel like long distances, not like in the same city or the same state necessarily. Further away. Further away. Okay, next thing we're looking at is work. All right. So for work, I think you're being picky and choosy about the work that you do right now, Aquarius, especially if you are an independent contractor. I think that if you have clients that are not paying you enough, you're just cutting them out. You're like, I don't have time for you because I have these other higher paying clients and they need a lot of my energy and effort. So I'm sorry, but I have to let you go. For others of you, you may be in a situation where you're looking at work and you're looking at your finances and you're realizing it's costing me more to go work for these people than it is for me to sit home and take care of my own kids, or something like that. There's definitely something going on where there's this disparity between pay and the work that you're doing. And you are doing what you need to cut out anything that causes a loss from the work that you do. Because you just can't afford to keep going like this. That just creates hard times. All right. Next thing that we're looking at is inner work, those things that you do to improve your own personality. What I'm seeing here, Aquarius, is that you have definitely been through some stuff lately, some pretty heavy duty, maybe even tragic stuff. You've been really having a hard time, and it has you feeling like you're left out in the cold. I feel like some of your support network has sort of dissipated over the last few months, or few months for most of you. Maybe even longer for a few of you. And so your inner work really is about coming to terms with the idea that, okay, some of my support network has dissipated. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to do anything about it? Am I going to stick with the support network that's tried and true, that's still here, that I know? Or am I going to go out and meet new people who may or may not have the same beliefs as me and sort through all of them and, find a support network again? Now, Aquarians, you guys are pretty social. If you guys are having to question yourself whether you want to go out and be social, there's definitely a problem here. Definitely a problem. And it would have to do with all this tragedy that you have been through, or tragedy or trauma that you have been through recently, all those hard times. It's making it hard for you to go out and be social right now. Okay, next thing that I'm looking at. For Aquarians. This is talking about that part of your life where you're growing or expanding right now. And this is basically saying that you have found something that you want to commit to, and that you are committing to, that actually brings you happiness, and that also pays you well enough for what you're doing. Also, you feel appreciated. And so I think you are coming into some kind of contract or some kind of agreement with somebody, whether this is in a personal relationship, or whether this is a work relationship, whether this is a friendship. There's somebody that you're coming into some kind of commitment with, and I think that you're very happy as you do it. This could very literally be a marriage for some of you. Not for all of you, but for some of you. Okay, next thing I'm looking at are those things that you stand for right now. Right now being July 19th through the 25th. La da 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 da. You definitely have a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and you are taking over making decisions in your life where you may have let other people take over before. Now you're saying, you know what, I think I can make those decisions just fine myself. Thank you very much for the help before, but it's time for me to take the reins. And I think you're just putting an end to letting that other person have this much control, or that other group having this much control over your life. You have the enthusiasm, you have the energy to take care of yourself and to take care of your decisions. You're doing it. Somebody is questioning you about this, and you're having to tell them, you know what, it's about time that I did this. For Pete's sake, how long am I supposed to let somebody else make decisions for me about my life? How this other person perceives you, they're seeing you as somebody who doesn't want to compete with anybody else. You're just not in competitor mode or compete mode. They are seeing you as somebody who manifests those things that they want. that you bring into creation, those things that you want in your life. And they're seeing you as somebody who may be having a little bit of a hard time making a decision about which direction that you want to go. That's how they're seeing you. Like I said, do we really care how they see us? I'm thinking we could put something that would be more informative in that slot. I would love to hear what you guys have to think of that, Aquarius. I know you have an opinion. You guys are highly intelligent. You always have opinions. Alrighty. Next, we're going to look at the pivot point coming up during this time frame where things start to change and go in a different direction. Things are definitely changing and going in a different direction, quite literally, whenever I look at this here, Aquarius. I have you holding back from somebody. I have you realizing that there was somebody in your life that you trusted, that you shared information with, and you're done with that. You've realized that you can't share all your information with them. You have to kind of keep some secrets for yourself. And I see you walking away from spending so much time interacting with this person. You may be feeling like interacting with them is actually dragging you down more than it's helping you. And a lot of that may be about their inability to just keep a secret or keep quiet about something. I think it comes across to me that you're pretty disappointed about the idea that that they just can't be discreet about the things that you share with them. Okay? Now, as that is going on, looks like not only are you walking away, but you're taking a trip. You're doing some travel. And I think that this is really off the cuff. I don't think that this is planned at all, this taking a trip or this travel. And I think also that part of this taking a trip or travel is a little bit of an act of rebellion almost. It's like there's somebody that you have been very generous to for a while, and you've decided, you know what, with that walkaway card, and then we've got another card here, you've decided, you know what, I got to cut off that generosity. It's not really helping them get anywhere. It's not helping me get anywhere. It's not doing anything. I got to cut that off. So you're cutting off this generosity, and as part of that, you're taking this trip. You're basically leaving town because you just don't want to be around where you can sucked into helping this person or enabling this person anymore. And so you're taking this trip. Like I said, this trip is completely unplanned. It's totally off the cuff. You may be in the car just driving home from work and going through the McDonald's drive-thru and just decide, you know what, I want to go to Montana today. Then set your GPS and just start off going. I don't know how many miles that is from you. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's not. But I'm thinking, you know, like 1,300 or something. A lot. It's a big trip. I think you're just deciding, I'm going to go on a big trip. I'm not sure you've packed clothes. I'm not sure you've planned for it at all. In fact, I would say that you haven't. I don't know why I picked Montana. You guys can choose your own destination. And I'm sure you will. All right. What else is going on at the same time? Okay. You're definitely putting down some responsibilities here. If you were in a relationship, this is definitely, I'm done. I'm stepping back. I do see like an evening out of things. So it could be that before you leave on your trip, maybe you even out, like if you owe this person some money or they owe you some money, that may be evened out. You know, you may be getting your things out of this other person's house, or they may be coming to getting their stuff from you, whatever, something like that. But I don't see this situation changing. Once you've walked away, I don't think that this is going to change, at least not during this time frame from the 19th through the 25th. Now let's look and see where you are once we get towards the end of this week. Yep, still separated from that person. But you are doing some kind of collaboration. And the separation, by the way, or detachment, is only temporary, just so you know. You are collaborating with somebody else, though, putting something together, working on a project. You're doing something with somebody else. And as you're away, I think you're thinking over, you know, what's my decision here? What am I really going to officially do in this situation where I walked away and where I just put down responsibilities? You know, at some point I have to go back. You have to come back from my trip. And at some point I have to deal with real life. And so I think that, you know, you are already considering how you want to handle that whenever you get back into your normal stomping grounds. Okay, so that's where we see you at the end of the week. Okay, Aquarians, we are back. And this time we are going to be looking at the time frame of the 26th through the 31st. So the last 6 days of July. Feel free to come back and re-look at these time frames later on as they get closer if you want to. But for right now, let's just see what comes up. Let's just see what we got. Alrighty, Aquarius. Looking at environment first, once again, like we did last time. What is happening here? You definitely have some emotional stuff happening in your environment once we get to this part of the month. And I think that the emotions are overwhelming you, Aquarius, and they're making you feel kind of grumpy and on edge, to tell you the truth, sort of moody. It seems like you're feeling a little bit pessimistic about either people in general, romantic relationships in general, or your particular romantic relationship. It's going to depend who you are and what your situation is, and this is a general reading, so I don't want to get more specific than that because I really want you guys to all be able to relate to what's going on here. But there is this pessimism that's showing up pretty strongly, and also you're showing up as being more emotional than usual, but at the same time you are really determined to reach a goal or reach a target, and you are focusing on that, and you're having great progress with that. So it's really, I'm having a hard time reconciling what's going on in your environment, because we've got this moody, emotional, pessimistic energy, and at the same time we've got this victorious, accomplishing a lot. So to me this says that, you know, there's two things happening in your environment. One thing is going really, really well, and the other thing is really kind of not. And the thing that's really kind of not probably has to do with some of the people that are in your environment. The thing that's going well, I think, has to do more with some kind of goal or target that you've been trying to reach, but, you know, you don't reach that by yourself. This is a goal or target that you reach with other people. So it looks like even though there's issues with other people, you're still working together with other people to reach a goal and being successful with that. Let's see what else comes up in this spread, because that's sure interesting. Alrighty, Aquarius. Next we're looking at subconscious leanings. Whew, baby. Alrighty, Aquarius, you are doing some things very independently on your own. This can be you thinking about the idea of just being single, not being coupled up with anybody. This can also be the idea of doing a business idea or a business plan all on your own, not being partnered up with anybody for something like that. And it looks to me like you're really, I think you're really planning on moving forward, acting as an individual, whichever way this is that it's coming up, whether it's personal or business or whatever. You are making plans that you're moving forward as an individual, and you are even planning that, you know what, you have opportunities coming up to move forward, partnered up or coupled up with somebody else, you know those opportunities are going to be presented to you, and you are making plans already to say, no, no, thank you. I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need a partner. I don't need a spouse or a love interest, whatever this is, whichever way that goes for you, Aquarius. You are just really focusing on doing something independently here. And you know, those of you who are already in a partnership, this is not like getting a divorce or walking away from that. So I don't want you to be, you know, worried about anything like that. In that case, then this would be applying in a way that would have to do with either friends or business associates. Anyway, that's what your subconscious is working on. Wow. But that would certainly tie in with this idea of not really having a lot of faith in people right now that we saw in the home environment. All right. Well, you guys are giving me a good challenge. We're off to a juicy start. There's lots of meat here. There's lots of meat here. Let's see what happens next. I do like where your subconscious is going. I mean, that seems like you're really working on how to be successful in your situation. So it's not like when I say there's a lot of meat here, that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just means there's a lot to sink my teeth into and to actually read. This is not your boring humdrum, oh, this week is just like last week type of reading. So next thing we're looking at is learning style and also communication style. What do we have here for learning style? You are definitely learning some new things this week, and I think you're letting your curiosity and your interest guide what you're learning. And I think that the information that you're picking up is very clear to you, and you're picking up information very quickly as well. Now, communication style. Definitely a lot of emotions and a lot of passion around, a lot of enthusiasm around the things that you're communicating during this time frame. And it looks to me like some of the things that you're communicating are things that you've talked about before, and now you're bringing them up again with passion, with emotion. So for some of you, you haven't talked about these things with these particular people before, but it's an old topic for you still, regardless. For some of you, you've talked about these things before with these same people, but now you're at a point of, you know, we've talked about this before. You know it's important to me. We're at a point now where something has to happen. Something has to give. Okay. What's next? What's next, Aquarius? Okay. Next thing we're looking at talks to me about work. So we're going to start with outer work, and then we're going to move on to inner work, just like we normally do. Outer work is definitely not paying as much as what you're putting into it as far as energy or effort. And I do see you putting in energy or effort into working. I see you really focusing on it. And I see you feeling really good about the work that you're doing. So I just don't see you having a payday. Now this could be that you're starting up something new and you're in that initial process where it's just not paying yet and you're not really expecting it to. Or there could be something else going on here. But either way, I see you feeling really good about the work that you're doing, putting in a lot of energy and effort, but pay has not shown up yet. And it may be that you didn't expect pay to show up yet. You may be expecting it like next week or maybe longer. But either way, I think for a lot of you, you're very aware that you're not expecting pay to show up right here anyway. Not yet. Delayed gratification. Let's look at inner work. Okay, so inner work centers around your self-confidence and your self-esteem here, Aquarius. And I think that you're actually putting up boundaries between yourself and somebody else so that you can work on your self-esteem and your self-confidence. Somebody who normally manages to tear you down, maybe even without realizing what they're doing. You're just keeping some distance. And I think you may also be putting new rules for them too, like, well, we don't talk about this, or we don't talk about that, or whatever, you know. There may be some new rules there, but definitely keeping some distance and really working on that self-confidence and self-esteem. It comes across to me that you're very aware that your self-confidence and self-esteem determines how well you're doing in life, so it's important to safeguard it. And that's what you're focused on from July 26th through the 31st. Now, next we're looking at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. Ooh, this is exciting, Aquarius. Okay, so you guys are really focused on doing what needs to be done to bring in the cash flow and make sure you're not doing any impulse spending, make sure the budget does what it's supposed to do. Now, you have dealt with some disappointments in that area, but you're staying focused on the opportunities and continuing to move forward. You're not wallowing, you're not letting disappointments really hold you back or keep you stuck. And besides the idea of bringing in the cash flow and not blowing the budget, you're finding ways to bring in the cash flow and not blow the budget and still be very happy. So you're happy with what you're doing to bring in the cash flow, and you're finding things to make you happy without going and spending a whole big wad of money during this time frame. Because this is definitely talking about really enjoying this time of finding happiness, finding satisfaction during this time whenever you're being responsible and adulting about the money. And, you know, taking advantage of opportunities and disregarding disappointments. I like it. I like it. So that's where you're growing. Next, we're going to look at something that you're standing for. Still working on building that security. And you are definitely manifesting, working on adding levels to the security that you have already. And you've got some great new ideas, too, about how you can do that. And so I think that you have shared some of these ideas with somebody before they're actually coming into fruition. And I think somebody has said something to you about, well, do you think that's really going to work? Who are you to actually have money in your savings account? Nobody does that. Everybody lives hand to mouth. Who do you think you are? That's the kind of silliness that you're hearing over here. And so you're defending that. You're saying, well, you know what? I have goals. And they're not the same as everybody else. I want to do more than just pay for groceries. Okay, so let's look at how this other person views you. There's definitely a lot of communication going on between you and this other person. And even though there's communication going on between you and this other person, you show up as being somebody that is really more from their past or maybe from their childhood. This could even be a sibling that was criticizing you for, you know, wanting more than what the average Joe has. And so they see you as somebody from their past, and not a bad somebody. Like, they have good memories with you. You guys are communicating a lot. They do see you as starting something new, completely new, that doesn't necessarily make sense, and that you're starting it basically as a leap of faith. So that's how they're seeing you. La da da da. Once again, do we care how they see you? Do we care? I know a lot of people care what other people think of them. Do we care when we're looking at this spread what other people think of us? Alrighty. Let's look next at the turning point, or the adjustment point, where our course changes a little bit during this week or during this 6-day period. So Aquarius, it looks like you're doing something in a little different location at some point during this week. You may actually be moving house or moving work, but if you're not, you know, actually moving something that big, then you're doing something in a different location. And you're doing this, as you're doing this, this is causing a little bit of detachment from you and from someone that you care about, or maybe even a group of people that you care about. This is a temporary detachment. This is not permanent, by the way. And there's a lot of unknowns around doing this thing in a different location, whether it's moving or something else. I think there's a lot of unknowns around here to be explored. And that's kind of what's going on, is that you're facing the idea that there's a lot of unknowns. You don't know what the unknowns are yet, but you're facing that idea as you're doing whatever it is you're doing in a different location. What else is going on at the same time? Okay, Aquarius, it looks like you may be giving somebody a second chance. It's interesting. Like you have deep feelings about somebody, and this doesn't have to be a romantic interest or partner. This could be, a friend or even a family member. But you do have deep feelings about somebody, and you are giving them some kind of second chance, although you're not really hopeful that this is going to end well. You're really giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt because you're expecting that this is not going to end well, even though you are giving them a second chance. You're giving them that much benefit of the doubt. At the same time, what's going on? You are definitely taking control of your finances, Aquarius. And you're also doing a lot of spying on this person that you're giving the second chance to. You're keeping a close eye on them, whether you're having to do that through mutual friends or cyber stalking or real life stalking. I don't know. But definitely you're keeping a close eye on them, and especially on their communications with other people. And you're just you're sitting back, you're waiting to see what happens. I do feel like you feel, and giving this person a second chance, you kind of feel like as you do that, you sort of have to watch your money. You have to keep an eye on things to make sure that as you're giving this person a second chance, they don't end up going through all your money, whether you end up buying them all the things that they need or whether they end up getting into your wallet or whatever. It comes across to me that you feel the need to secure your money, okay? Now, I'm not advising that. What I'm saying is it comes across to me that you feel the need for that. If you don't, okay. This is a general reading. Not everything I see is going to apply to every single Aquarius. Now, let's look at what's happening once we get towards the end of the week. Okay, so this person that you gave a second chance to probably is what we're looking at, this situation here. But remember earlier we saw you doing things independently, without a partner, without a love interest, without a business partner, etc. Towards the end of the week, I see you going into full-on recluse mode, okay? Just really by yourself, thinking things over, getting rid of the noise and the clutter in your mind. So getting rid of any kind of distractions as you take this time to go and be really by yourself, to recluse and to think about what it is that makes you tick, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, why, what is it that you actually want right now. And I think that also part of the reason why you're by yourself is because you have cut some kind of tie. You may have asked a roommate to move out, or you may have cut a tie with a romantic person, or you may have cut a business tie. And so you're spending some time by yourself really sort of thinking over, okay, this is where I am. Where am I going next? All right. So that's where we see you at the end of this month. I guess when we get into August, we'll have to pick up the saga from there. What an exciting last week, though, Aquarius. There was a lot of good stuff there. So anyway, thank you all for being here and spending some of your precious time with me. I know that these are long, and you guys can come back later and listen to them little bits at a time, as much as you need to hear, whichever time frames you need. You don't have to listen to the whole thing all at once. And you can come back repeatedly if you need to. But thank you definitely for spending some of your time here with me. Thank you also for the thumbs ups that you guys have put on this video. And thank you for sharing this video with other people that you think it may be helpful to as well. And of course, last but not least, thank you so much to those of you who are ordering private readings from me. It is all of you guys' support at every single level that does allow me to do what I love to do for my living. So once again, thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic month. I'll see some of you here for private readings in between now and then, but the rest of you, I'll see back on the next video. Peace out. I'm going to take a break now, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up the month for you, Aquarians.